That's a bit better. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to the show, folks. It's a much later time for starting today, and that's because I wanted to do it later in the evening, just because then it would be cooler in my room. It is still extremely hot in here at the moment, or rather extremely warm and humid and sweaty, and I guess the room can't be sweaty, but I feel sweaty. But yes. Saturday stream nights. Hello, Pickle. Actually, Pickle, it's a good thing you bring that up, so... I may be joining a new play soon, a new theatre show. As a result of that, streams may need to change schedule for it. So rehearsals for it would be on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evenings. Now, normally if I stream, but you're an actual actor, shh. What was I gonna say? Shh, 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 Pickle, shh, shh. I was going to say that. Yes, so normally they're on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evenings. They'll be on. And, what was I going to say? Yes. So, if it's from Monday and Wednesday, that may not change. I normally do streams in the afternoon on those days anyway, though I sometimes do in the evenings, so I may change some of them to... on Tuesdays and Wednesdays as well. And Friday streams will probably have to be a no-go because realistically it's in a town a few towns away from me, and I will be getting back for I want to say about 10 o'clock at night or something like that, maybe 11 o'clock at night. Unfortunately, whilst I would really love to start streams then, I cannot do that due to where I live. I'd be perfectly fine doing that if I was in my own place. Unfortunately, I am not. Which is rather unfortunate and sad about it, but I think if I end up getting in it, if I end up carrying on with it fully, I will likely be moving reading streams to Saturday, which may work better for people. I'm not sure. At the moment, I just started later in the evening today, just because it is. It's just very hot here, and apparently there's a heat wave going on in the UK at the moment, about 34 degrees Celsius. I don't know if that's hot for other people. That's pretty hot over here, though. Granted, I've not checked the temperature today, though. I didn't feel that hot, but it was like it was warm, but not that hot. I just live in a very oddly insulated room, and I don't know why everything is so warm in here. I think it's because I have a large window, which probably does not help in bringing in all this heat. But I digress. But yes, I will potentially be moving reading streams to Saturday. Actually, okay, do people prefer it if I do make a schedule? I feel like I work better if I make a schedule for streams. Do people prefer it if a schedule is made? Because then I guess you can jump in, I can jump in here then on this day, I guess. I don't know if that's easier for people. I feel like I should do that more, I just forget to. Kinda, yes. Okay, I'll keep an eye on that. I'll try my best to make I fell asleep yesterday. That's fair. It's a hazy summer week. Hazy summer, hazy summer. I normally do schedules, I just sometimes get forgetful or lazy. Though yeah, streams may become an as and may thing. At the very least, I can make a schedule, and then I can decide, oh, I'm having to move this, or I'm having to cancel this, and so on and so forth, you understand. The alternative would be having to cancel Friday streams in general, which I do not wish to do, because I like doing reading streams on an evening, as opposed to a reading stream in the afternoon. I think a lot more people would want an evening reading instead. But, yeah. That will probably be changing going forward. I actually need to message the director about it, actually, still. I'll do that after stream, it's fine. Oh, it means I have to, like, prepare a bunch of meals in advance, because I can't, I don't want to have to do cooking at, like, 11 o'clock at night when I come back home, you know what I mean? You ever done that? Like, late evening cooking? It's not the best to do. Though sometimes people are like, oh, I'm well drunk, I'm gonna go in at 3 in the morning. I'm like, no, fuck off. Who cares? You want food. You're just a drunk idiot right now. Go away. I saw something today which really annoyed me. This guy, this male VTuber, and I can't remember his name actually. He's fairly sizable, I think. I won't say who it was. Maybe people would know this if I said what it was. I saw a video. I think it was a clip or a video of him talking about why male VTubers fail. And it wasn't about talking about it. That wasn't the thing I took issue with. I think the issue he was talking about was that it was all in terms of like fetishy and sexual stuff. And I'm like, what about the people who aren't interested in that and doing that stuff? Right? And he apparently does like a lot of like ASMR stuff, a lot of like roleplay, BFE roleplay stuff. And you know, no shame on that. That's obviously it's anyone's prerogative to either do that stuff or enjoy that stuff. There's no problem at all with that. But like, I took umbrage with the fact that it was like, oh, the reason why is that, oh, they're all like, it's like, oh, men don't understand what women want, and they'll act like they're top all the time, and it's like blah, 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 blah. And like women don't always want that. Like this guy talking, he's like God. Not okay. Maybe this is me projecting there. Talking like he really acts like he really understands women, and like all the people in his comments were like glazing him essentially, right? Like, oh God, he gets. And like, what if you don't want to do that? And that's his concept. Why else would people enter his stream? Wait, as in like BFE stuff, you mean? Yeah, I mean, I guess the people who are going to respond to a video like that are going to be people who are interested in that kind of stuff in the first place, right? Again, no problem with liking that kind of stuff. It's absolutely fine. There's no issue at all. Yeah, and like I started watching it and I'm like, you know what? No, maybe he has a fair point to make here. And I decided to watch the rest of the video, and he said there are a lot of people who I've seen and they're really nice and I like them, but a lot of people just don't know how to sell themselves. And like, okay, that is fair. Granted, like on my perspective, I don't know how to sell myself, but I also know that if I use Twitter more than I do, which isn't a lot, but if I use Twitter more than I do, I would blow my goddamn brains out. And I'd rather not do that in the name of advertisement. I think that's a fair trade-off, don't you think so? I think it's pretty good. It's male VTuber thirst trap for web teens. That were like... You say that, I think of like all... You remember when like Sherlock was really big on Tumblr? And like... Yeah, it was Sherlock, yeah. And apparently like a large majority of Sherlock's fan base were women in their like late 20s and late 20s to like early 40s who were like horny women writing gay fan fiction about it. And it's like, huh. Yeah, so there's a wide age range. Something we don't talk about. You say that, but so many people had their start on Tumblr. Some have even had their end. Anyway, let's not talk about the end. The end times are coming, little one. The end times. Oh, speaking of ending and times, I made a new video, and I spent like hours on it. I've seen unspeakable things on that godforsaken website. I miss them when there were boobs. I miss when Tumblr had a boob. Listen, I know I just said I'm not interested in sexual. I can still talk about like when I like boobs. Boobs is fine. Send bobs. You can still access those. Oh yeah. It's not like a thing, and you understand when I say it's not like a thing anymore. Obviously, it's still there, but it's not like a thing. Some people like that it's not the thing there anymore. I have no interest in that site though. But yeah, I think it was just a bit of a one-note kind of take from this guy, and I'm like, eh. And like, but I'll say now, I don't like the guy as a content creator. I obviously don't know him personally. I don't know. Maybe on the weekend he goes out and saves kittens from burning buildings or something. But I don't watch his stuff. I don't find his stuff entertaining. I think he's a little tryhard in trying to appeal to the horny woman demographic. which, to my understanding, is a graphic you should probably try, a demographic rather, which may be in your best interest to avoid, because as soon as you do something they don't like, they will... Actually, hang on, wait, never mind. If someone else does something they don't like, they'll stab them to death, but you could, like, actually, like, kill and, like, commit sexual felonies, and they'll be like, oh my god, he's just an angel. It's like when people are like, you know when, like, people will, like, defend serial killers because they're attractive? Like, it's like that kind of behavior. You're appealing to a certain dark isn't the whole point of being a content... No, connect creator. I think everyone has an appeal to someone. I think that's just the nature of the beast of being human. Yes. Where is my map going today? Yeah. I think every human has some kind of appeal to someone. Unfortunately, you may never find that someone. Yes, honestly, I do think that, like, there's a very good chance, right, that, like, the people you appeal to, you may just not get into contact with a lot of the time in life. And there may not be any reason for that, that's just because life is sometimes unfair. There's a great quote, which I always try to remember when I ever feel really shit about life. It's from Sir Patrick Stewart, his character in Star Trek Next Generation, Captain Picard. Wait, is Sir Patrick Stewart dead? No, he's alive. I hope he's alive. Yeah, he's alive. So Patrick Stewart's character, Captain Picard, is this great line where he says, it is possible to make no mistakes and still fail. That is not weakness. That is life. It's a very important lesson I always try to remember. Like, sometimes life just doesn't work out. And that can be in any facet of it, and there's no rhyme or reason for it. It's just the way it happens. You know, there is an unspeakable chaos to the universe, which just overminds any kind of law we have invented. And it's just the way it works, unfortunately. But yeah. Wait, how did I get onto this? But yeah, no, I just kind of disagree with the take. It's like, because again, it was very much like this idea that if you want to be a successful male VTuber, you basically need to be appealing to this GFE kind of thing. Wait, no, BFE? Wait, is it? No, yeah, boyfriend experience kind of thing. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know about that there, buddy. That sounds... I don't really want to do that. That sounds kind of weird. Listen, if someone... I'll call someone a good girl as a joke. But, like, I don't think I'd actually mean it. I don't really even talk about, like sex stuff with friends. I say that like I have friends. Like, if, like, in the past, when, like, I've been in, like, a group of people, they've brought up, like, if ever anything like that's been brought up, I don't really talk about my own personal preferences. I don't want to talk about that with people. And listen, I can joke about things. I'll say, oh man, I love bunny girls. That's because I love bunny... Have you seen bunny girl outfits? They're fantastic. They're, like, my favorite thing ever. Next to, you know, trifle. And if you don't know what trifle is a lovely dessert, actually. Very classically British dessert, I would say. But I heavily recommend trying it. It's basically a layered dessert made of, like, cake sponges, or, like, lady fingers, you call them, maybe, as well. But cake sponges and, like, jelly and, like, generally some kind of, like, strawberry jelly or raspberry jelly. You could also do, like, something like an orange jelly. I went, oh no, that was close. Wait, what happened? Oh, right, the sex stuff. Oh, yeah. Oh, hang on. Yeah, so you got, like, cake and jelly and... some, like, blancmange. Do you know what blancmange is? Blancmange is like a milk custard made of, like, milk and cornstarch. And they can different flavors for it and everything. It's very nice. But yeah, blancmange and sometimes custard or both. Sometimes blancmange, sometimes custard, sometimes both blancmange and the custard. And then you top it with, like, a layer of, like... Oh, also, fruits as well. Lots of fruits in the jelly as well. You put them in. And you top it with, like, whipped cream... and, like, maybe some kind of topping, like a shaved chocolate, or sprinkles, maybe, or just even more fruit. You could, like, I've seen a lot of really ornate designs for them, done with, like, a pattern of strawberries. Very, very pretty designs. And, you can also get some, very traditional to have alcohol in it as well. You obviously don't need to. I generally don't. But it's kind of like winter alcohol, because it's a very like Christmassy dish. So a lot of like winter alcohol, like a brandy or something like that. Put a bit of that in there as well. I've seen there's a very good video on YouTube, which is a recipe for trifle from the 1800s. And it would have been from a a fairly wealthy Victorian household. And there's so much alcohol in it. I'm really glad it doesn't use that much anymore, because it's very expensive and it's very boozy. But granted, this is also a time when a lot of things were very boozy to show them as kind of wealthy. Interesting thing though, it decorated it with edible flowers. Which I think is a very nice choice of decoration. You don't really see that commonly anymore. But yeah, edible flowers might be a nice choice if you want something a little different from chocolate or sprinkles, or again, more fruit. Or maybe have some edible flowers in between some fruit. That might be very pretty. Yes. Yeah, very pretty indeed. I have a Jamie Oliver cookbook, and I know people dunk on Jamie Oliver. I like his food. I think he's got some very good recipes, honestly. I think he gets very unfairly dunked on by a lot of people. But there's a really nice recipe in that for a trifle, and it's good. And like I've already know how to make a trifle, and I'll look at it for tips. But there's a very nice ornate design on my. Oh, this is a really nice design. Maybe I'll try and do this someday. But yeah. I'd heavily recommend trying it. It's not difficult to make either. It just takes a bit of time to set. But yeah. I'd enjoy punching him right in the middle of his face, honestly. I think a lot of the hatred for him is a bit undeserved. I think a lot of it has been spread around by people like, what's that comedian called? Uncle Roger? I actually I don't like Uncle Roger, if I'm being honest. I don't like Uncle Roger. Number one, I didn't realize Uncle Roger was a character. I thought that he was just this asshole who just dunks on everything for no reason. And then it's like, oh, I've actually heard his stand-up, and like, oh, that's like a character he does. This isn't when he actually talks like. This is like just a character he does, like very stereotypical annoyed Asian dad, just guy maybe, just guy. But yeah, I think my. Now, listen, if you don't like Jamie Oliver, that's fine. I think he's still got some good stuff, and again, I think a lot of it is undeserved, the hatred that people give him. I think that my hatred goes towards channels like Uncle Roger and other stuff which make their career dunking on other people's cooking, because it's reductive, right? Listen, I'm sure I don't know if I talked about this you pickle before. I don't know if you've been here before. I talked this before. Additives and unhealthy food tell scary stories about him on a campfire. He was annoying before that. Wait, additives and unhealthy food tell scary stories about him around a campfire. He was annoying before that YouTuber. Additives and unhealthy food. Is that the YouTuber? Or are you saying talking about additives and unhealthy food? I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting unhealthy food, though I understand that like it's kind of preachy from him. I can understand why people find it preachy, and yeah. I don't know, I still think he has some good stuff, but no, what I was going to say was that, like, I don't like channels which spend all their time dunking on other people's cooking, because it's reductive, right? Listen, I think it's fine to want to have a traditional cuisine, but I think you need to ask yourself, what is traditional? What is traditional cuisine? Let's look at Italians, for example. They're always an easy thing to put, an easy punching bag in this field of, because they're very prideful of their cooking a lot of the time. What is traditional Italian cooking? I'm sure many Italians may not be able to tell you that, because realistically, the idea of a unified Italian cuisine has only come about in the last 100 years or so, as the country has become more interconnected. Originally, a lot of it was just all regional cuisine. Even pizza was just a regional dish. I agree with that. There's a lot of amazing fusion dishes. Yeah, it's like, what is traditional? So yeah, okay. Let's look at a classic tomato sauce, whatever kind, a pomodoro, maybe making a bolognese or something like that. A lot of them use tomatoes. If you're making a bolognese, American style bolognese tends to use more tomatoes than Italian style, but a lot of them will use bolognese tomatoes to some extent. Tomatoes are not native to Italy. Tomatoes were introduced by Spanish traders after they came from they got them from South America, much like potatoes were introduced to Europe from Spanish and Portuguese traders. They're all New World foods. And tomatoes aren't native to Italy. Does that mean it's not traditional? Well, I don't know. I mean, that was like 500 plus years ago now. Is 500 plus years enough time to become traditional? Is it not enough time? I'm not sure. In the UK, chicken tikka masala is considered a national dish. That is not a dish made traditionally from anywhere in the UK, England, Scotland, Wales, or Ireland. Rather, it came about as a result of immigrants from India and Pakistan making a curry, making new curry dishes to suit local palates and such. And now chicken tikka masala is one of the most popular curry dishes around the world. One of the major differences it does is really use like a yogurt marinade, I guess, would probably be one of the more common things it does differently. And the masala spice mix as well. But yeah, the point is, what does it take for a dish to be traditional? And, you know, there are tons of ways to make good food. People say that's not how you make something. Telling someone that is not how to cook is the worst thing you can do, because that's not correct. There are 1,000,000,001 ways to cook things. Do you know how many ways you can cook rice? Right? You know, you can cook rice in an oven. You can cook, obviously, people will either use a rice cooker or cook it in a pan. It's like the Theseus ship paradox. You are correct, actually, on that. That's a great comparison, Pickle. Yeah, like when does the origin start and when does it end, I guess. But yeah, it's like there are 1,000,000,001 ways to cook things. To say something is not correct because it's not traditional is reductive and honestly stupid. It is asinine to say that that's not how something is done because that's not traditional. What does it mean to be traditional? Is it not traditional because that's not how your grandma makes it? What's the funny thing about that is that your grandma makes it differently from every other fucking grandma. Right? Like, Jesus Christ. Your grandma makes it different from every other fucking grandma. And every other grandma would say your grandma is making it wrong because it's not theirs. Is it kicking in yet? Does it make sense why these kind of videos, why all these people talking about how this is not traditional are like so stupid? They don't care about food. Food is wonderful because it evolves and adapts, right? Things change. People add new things, take things away, things can evolve into an entirely new dish. Why would you take that away? Is it because of pride or foolishness? Or is it a bit of both? The line between pride and foolishness is very thin, after all. It is a very thin line. So which one is it? Thorn, how thin is the line between pride and foolishness? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing well, my friend. It's very warm in here, Thorn, and I'm getting pissed off about food again. You've probably been here a dozen times of me getting pissed off about food. Food. You're probably sick of me complaining about people not understanding how food works and how food adapts and evolves over time, over generations even. But hey, nothing I say will change anything. I'm just a small little guy. I'm just a little guy on the internet complaining about this. Meanwhile, there are people who will make hundreds of thousands of views talking about how, like, X dish is the worst thing I've ever seen. And the reason why is because they used soy sauce in something which does not normally have soy sauce. And, like a teaspoon. Like, this just ruined, or I don't know. Like Uncle Roger, he's from the Philippines, I think he's from. Yeah, I think he's Filipino. I can't do a Filipino accent. I have my good friend Winter. Every time I'll try and do a Filipino accent, I just end up, I'll try, like, she's like, no, dude, you can do a Filipino accent. I'm like, I'll try it, and I'll just end up sounding like Indian. Oh no, dude, you can do a Filipino accent. Like, wait, hang on, that's not Filipino. She told me, okay, if you want to sound Filipino, If you want to sound, sorry, Swagapino. You need to sound like, don't say Filipino, say Filipino. Filipino. Maybe I would get it more if I spoke Spanish, because my tracking just went un momento. Spain colonized. Oh, we're back. Okay, never mind. Spain colonized the Philippines and very much affected it. Apparently, if it wasn't for the Spanish colonization, there's a very good chance that the Philippines are probably a Muslim country. That's how influential it was. I've been working overtime twice during the week. I'm sorry to hear that, Thorn. Hey man, it's okay. We're just gonna have a chill evening tonight. We're just gonna read a book. You know, maybe kill women, because that's based, I think. Guys, is it based to kill women? Okay, hang on. I was watching a clip of the VTuber Jelly Hoshiumi. Okay, I think we scared Pickle there. Actually, no. Listen, no, I was watching a clip of the VTuber Jelly Hoshiumi. She's playing the coffin of Andy and Laylee. And there's a bit where Andy punches Laylee in the face, and she was like, "Holy based!" And then everyone's laughing. Like, no, guys, it was a joke. I'm serious. It's not based to beat your wife or your spouse. It's not. I mean, okay, maybe it can be. And like, dude, you just keep digging yourself into a hole here. Have you heard about Ghost of Yotei? I know the game exists. It was coming out. How something happened with Ghost of Yotei? Oh, Japanese food. I'm making some karaage after tea, which is like Japanese after tea after the stream today, which is like Japanese style fried chicken. Yeah. But yeah, Thorn, we'll just have a comfy reading stream tonight, so no need to you can rest your weird bones. They should have overview the game. Oh no, I haven't seen it. I thought I'd heard something about it. I've not even played Ghost of Tsushima yet, honestly. Granted, I also don't have a PlayStation 5, so I don't have a lot of modern games, it turns out. I want to play Mecha Break. Guys, you seen Mecha Break? It's the cool robot game, and I want to play it, but I don't have enough room on my PC to play it. Also, I think, whilst I could play it on lower settings, I think my PC would explode. But I still want to give it a go. Yeah. Oh, there's a PC port. Interesting. I may check that out in the future then. And also, I have played Mecha Break. Thorn, don't rub this in my face. I know you're not, you're just saying you played it, but don't rub this in my face. It looks really awesome. Wait, no, what I was going to say was, yes, so, if you're one of those channels which spends all the time reviewing other people's food and then saying it's bad because it's not traditional, it's not how your granny makes it or your nana or whoever, I think you should get hit in the head with a brick and then punched in the neck. And then I think, like, the culinary world would be a better place because there's less people to talk about how, like, you're doing it wrong, because food is an endless ocean of tastes available. Just be a normal hater instead of a traditional one. I like the idea that could change depending on, like, the person who you're hating. Are you a normal PewDiePie hater or a traditional PewDiePie hater? And then the question is, what does that mean? Do you guys think my laugh is weird? I once got told my laugh is like a hyena's laugh. And we talked about hyenas a lot. Just say I hate soy sauce and move on. Yeah. It has character. I'll take that as an insult. Looking DC DM Elijah. Oh my god. I can't be bothered. Oh, is that for Ghost of Yotei? I'll take that as an insult. No. Uno momento. Hang on. Okay. Dun 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 dun. Bum bum bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum bum dun dun dun. Na 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 da 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 na 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 na. Mecha break. Wait. What? So you've got 3 of 61 achievements? What? Am I meant to be impressed by this? Oh, hang on, wait, I didn't actually look at the hours. Wait. That's not impressive. Like, just under 3 hours, that is... I can never compliment people. Today I told my student that she smells peculiar and she... That's really funny. You smell peculiar. I'm sorry, there is no way you could tell someone you smell peculiar and they'll think that's a good thing. You could have just said, oh, you smell nice. Granted, people might also think that is kind of weird. But if you say, you smell peculiar. What do you I had good intentions. You know what? So many people had good intentions over the years, and look where it's gone. I'm sure Germany had good intentions when they invaded Austria, but hey, look what happened there. Pickle, I think you need to maybe learn about... Do we need like a compliments crash course? Okay. Okay. Thorn, you're gonna be my example here. I'm gonna go get... Thorn, you're gonna be my example here. Hey, Thorn. I think you're a really swell guy. See? Now that was a compliment, right? I think he's really swell, right? Now, knowing Thorn, he probably took that in a sarcastic manner, because I'm a sarcastic douche. However, I was genuine about it, and in this scenario, this acted scenario, I was genuine about it at the very least. Actually, I think Thorn's a piece of shit, but that's neither here nor there. Swell, I would cry. You are right about that. Okay, excellent. If I called you swell, I don't know, Pickle. What do you want me to? What kind of compliment do you want? Hey, rockin' tits. Don't go to someone and say rockin' tits. Never do that. Unless you're like best friends with someone, in which case maybe they'd think, thanks bro, I'd appreciate that. I don't know, what's a good compliment to give? Hey, I think you look nice today. Yeah, just tell them they look nice. It's completely safe, and but then you're only fucked if they start to say, what looks nice about me? And you're like, you have a nose? I look nice because I have a nose. Yes. And then you complimented them because they have a nose. My nose is weird. Sometimes my nose phases out of different planes of existence. Do you see this? Damn, you look kind of bricked up right now. I like crooked noses, so if I say your nose looks peculiar, it's a nice thing. Again, it's this word choice, Pickle. Peculiar. A lot of people, if you were to say that it's peculiar, it means it's an oddity. Now, you might think this is a good oddity, right? In the same way that you might find, I don't know, a rare insect that you find. Let's imagine that you find a rare beetle, right? You just out about, oh, that's rather peculiar. I would see that, right? But you think that's a good thing, and that is a pretty cool thing. Unusual, and I'm not saying unusual is bad, but many people may misconstrue it as such. And the thing is, this is where the crux of social interaction comes in. what you may consider normal, someone may consider a massive social faux pas. There are two ways you can go about this, essentially, then, as a result. Number one, you can attempt to walk on eggshells your entire life and analyze someone down to the molecular level to find the exact word choice needed to obtain a favorable result in conversation. Option number two, forget all that. Just speak your mind and hope that someone will understand you and someone will like you regardless, because not everyone's going to like you in life. That's just the way life works. Some people will just not like you. Maybe that's just because they don't get on with your personality. Maybe that's because of some other reason. I don't know. Your cheeks look rather peculiar. Why do you spell that wrong? Peculiar. Ooh woo oh whoa. So those are your two options, Pickle. Now, I would say pick your poison. I don't think any of those are... Actually, I'd rather the first one is rather poisonous. It sounds extremely mentally taxing to have to live on eggshells your entire life in conversation. I guess just maybe avoid the use of the term peculiar, unless it's someone you're close with, who understands that when you're meaning peculiar, you're meaning it's unusual in a charming way. Because that's what you're meaning here, right? You're meaning it, oh... that's rather peculiar. Like, oh, peculiar. And, no, oh, that's rather peculiar. Like, you hear the difference there. Oh, peculiar. Peculiar. There's one's like, oh, that's rather charming. And one is of consternation. And hang on a second. This man's just committed a murder. That level of consternation. So it's all about trying to find that balance. Does that make sense? I hope I'm getting through to you. Thorn, does that make sense to you? Direct compliments are rather dangerous, I feel. You are correct on that. Again, I think a lot of this can depend on how close you are with someone. I think it can come off as disingenuous to give someone a direct compliment with no reason. Granted, it also may make someone's day, you never know, right? They may have had a really bad day, and you saying, hey, I think you have really nice hair, or something, I don't know. You have nice hair, that might make their day. I think, though, yes, direct compliments can have unintended consequences, I think. Obviously, this can change as well depending on things like who is saying it in the relations they have with people. Are they male or female, saying it to a male or female? And, there's a bunch of other factors which could come into this, which could potentially affect the outcome. But I don't think you're incorrect there, saying direct compliments can be dangerous. Though I think also some people can appreciate the directness. Again, you can't live your entire life psychoanalyzing everyone, trying to find the most favorable result to do. That's not physically possible. You would die before you were able to do that with every person you met. So, I guess, just do your best. Yeah. That's probably cold comfort, to just say do your best, and try not to, mess up. Thank you, Grandpa? Okay. Just trying to help him, then it's fucking asshole. Don't worry, I'll soon be an old man yelling at a cloud. Easy, just save scum at life. Oh, of course, how foolish of me. If only I could have done that a decade ago. That would have been... wow. If you could save scum in real life, that would be incredible, though. That would be the most useful power ever. But yeah, don't fret about it too much, Pickle. Just do your best. And you know what? Maybe that kid just needed to have a bad day. Maybe that kid you were teaching, I don't know how old this child was, but like, maybe they just needed to toughen up. Maybe they needed some thicker skin, and you've given him that thicker skin there. You know? Maybe you've traumatized them for life. I shouldn't joke about that. That's really mean. She is 40. Oh, okay. Well, then that's her own fault. I thought when you were saying this, it was just like a small child. No, if you're saying that... Actually, hang on. If you're saying that's a 40-year-old, that's... Well, I guess, actually, she could probably misconstrue that even more, maybe, actually. Oh. Hang on, the more you think it... Gee, I could use a distraction. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Conway Twitty. I actually don't have a Conway Twitty video to interrupt this segment with, so you're gonna be stuck with me for a little while longer. But hey, that's okay. You all came here to be... Hello? Oh, we're back here. Much like how people were stuck with Rorschach, and what is going on with my tracking? Oh. Hang on. What's going on here? I tell you folks, it's the heat. It's the heat making everything go wacky and wonky. I'm gonna lurk for a bit. It's okay, we're probably gonna start reading in a moment anyway, Thorn. So this is your perfect time to sit back, relax, have a nice, refreshing glass of whatever it is you want to drink. That could be tea, could be juice, it could be, I don't know, milk? I love milk. Probably not a good idea to drink it on stream though. Yeah. Straight up vodka. Do you guys ever see the old Vine? I just dated myself so much. There's a really good Vine where it's like, hey man, can I have a sip of your water? It's not water. Ah, vodka, not your style. So I kind of said, it's vinegar. What? I said it's vinegar, you fucking pussy. It's like one of my favorite vines. You unlocked the memory. Okay, I'm gonna do one more for you, both you guys. And they were roommates. You know the rest. You know the rest. Type it in chat. You know the rest of the words. Anyway. Oh my god, they were roommates. Let's do the reading. Hang on, folks. Don't dare me. No, don't dare me. Oh, hang on. Bit of a mistake there. What's going on here? There we go. Reading mode. Let's turn the music off as well. There we go. Okay, so you remember last time we got on to, we met the Cyclops Polyphemus. We, Odysseus successfully got a bunch of goats from an island nearby them, and then their crew was well fed. But then they decided to travel to the following island, which was the home of the Cyclope. And there they met Polyphemus, a bastard of a man, who was not well keen on, not very keen on either worshipping the gods, despite being a child of one, nor of being hospitable to his guests, and proceeded to eat them in extremely well detailed descriptions, which I think are fantastic. Needless to say, they escaped Odysseus thanks to his ever famous nobody/no one trick of calling himself no one, stabbing him in the eye with a heated stick, and then when he asked his Cyclope brothers for help, they asked who has blinded you, and they said nobody has blinded me, and they said, well then, bugger off, be gone with you. We do not need to listen to listen to your ramblings. And then one is like, was that Polyphemus? It's like, yeah, don't worry about it. Like, what was happening? Oh, he said he got blinded. By who? No, nobody blinded him. I'm like, oh, well, okay then. You sure he doesn't know you check about it? Oh, he's just complaining to get attention. But yeah, that little attention-seeking bastard, Polyphemus. Of course, no one is the biggest attention whore than Odysseus himself, who, despite the fact that they were in mortal danger because Polyphemus was blindly throwing boulders at the crew of Odysseus' ship, he had the gall to go out and say, I am the one who blinded you. I am Odysseus. I am Odysseus, and I am the one who blinded you. And I will be the one who defeated you, and everyone shall know of this. Yeah, I'm Odysseus, son of Laertes, who lives in Ithaca. Odysseus, sacker of cities, son of Laertes, even as he says. And Polyphemus curses him. He calls upon his lord father Poseidon to, as he puts it, make sure he doesn't get home. But if he is destined to see his friends again, to come once more to his own house, to reach his native land, let him come late in wretched plight, having lost all his comrades arriving in a foreign ship, and let him find trouble in his home. Of course, we know now that he will be going home in a foreign ship. He's going home in the Phaeacian ship, and there will be trouble at his home, as his house is being eaten out of house and home by the suitors who are harassing dear Penelope and Telemachus. And yes, you see here now one of Odysseus' biggest fatal flaws, the hamartia. Yeah, I believe the term was hamartia, the fatal flaw. His pride. He's a prideful man who doesn't know when to shut up. But we'll just read the last paragraph from the last book, and then we're going to go into book 10. So the whole day long till sundown we sat and feasted on our rich supply of meat and mellow wine. Oh, sorry, can you hear my fan in the background? Nothing's coming up on my microphone, so I'm assuming not. So the whole day long till sundown we sat and feasted on our rich supply of meat and mellow wine. When the sun set and darkness fell, we lay down to sleep on the seashore. As soon as dawn appeared, fresh and rosy-fingered, I roused my men and ordered them to go on board and cast off. They climbed on board at once, took their places at the oars, and altogether struck the white surf with the blades. Thus we left the island, and sailed on with heavy hearts, grieving for the dear friends we had lost, but glad at our own escape from death. Oh, by the way, I don't know if it's already came out with a reminder, I made a short this week. I released a short all about the crew of Odysseus, but the other members of Odysseus' crew. So yeah, if you've not already watched that, do please check that out. I worked really hard on it. So yeah, give it a go if you're interested in that. It's like a minute long and has a lot of useful information. A lot of fun information about the Odyssey and how it's changed over the years. But anyway, shameless self-plug aside, well, there you go. Did someone bring that up, or is that just like a thing which happens? I'm not sure. Anyway, let's go start with book 10, Circe. We next came to the floating island of Aeolia, home of Aeolus, son of Hippotas, who is favourite of the immortal gods. All round this isle there runs an unbroken wall of bronze, and below it the cliffs rise sheer from the sea. Aeolus shares his house with a family of 12, 6 daughters and 6 grown-up sons, and he has given his daughters to his sons in marriage. With their father and their estimable mother, they are always feasting. Countless delicacies are laid before them, and all day long the house is filled with the savoury smell of roasting meat, and the courtyard echoes the sounds of banqueting within. At night they sleep, each with his loving wife, on ornate beds with plenty of rugs. To this domain of theirs and this magnificent palace we now came. For a whole month Aeolus entertained me and questioned me on everything, Troy, the Achaean navy, and our return. And I told him everything, exactly as it was. When it came to my turn, and I asked him whether I might now continue my journey and count on his help, he gave it willingly. He made arrangements for my journey and presented me with a leather bag made from the flayed skin of a full-grown ox, in which he had imprisoned the boisterous energies of all the winds. Zeus had put him in charge of winds, with power to lay or rouse them at will. This bag he stowed in the hold of my ship, securing it tightly with a burnished silver wire to prevent the slightest leakage. Then he called up a breeze from the west to blow my ships and their crews across the sea. But his measures were doomed to failure, for we came to grief through our own senseless stupidity. For 9 days and nights we sailed on, and on the 10th we were already in sight of our homeland, and had even come near enough to see people tending their fires, when I fell fast asleep. I was utterly exhausted, but in my anxiety to speed our journey home, I handled the sheet of my ship myself without a break, giving it to no one else. The crew began to discuss matters among themselves, and word went round that I was bringing home a fortune in gold and silver, which the great-hearted Aeolus, son of Hippotas, had given me. And this is what they said as they exchanged glances. "Ugh, it's not fair. What a captain we have, valued wherever it goes and welcomed in every port. Back he comes from Troy with a splendid haul of plunder, though we have gone every bit as far, come on with empty hands. And now Aeolus has given him all this into the bargain, as a favour for friendship's sake. Come on, let's find out and see how much gold and silver is hidden in that bag." After talk like this, evil counsels prevailed. They undid the bag, the winds all rushed out, and in an instant the tempest was upon them, carrying them headlong out to sea, in tears, away from their native land. When I awoke, my spirit failed me. I debated within myself whether to jump overboard and drown, or stay among the living and quietly endure. I stayed and endured. Covering my head with my cloak, I lay where I was in the ship. So all my ships, with their distraught crews, were driven back to the island of Aeolus. We disembarked and collected water, and the men straightway had a quick meal by the ships. But as soon as we had something to eat and drink, I took a messenger and one of my comrades to accompany me and set out for the palace of Aeolus, whom we found at dinner with his wife and family. We went in and sat down on the threshold by the doorposts. They were astounded at the sight of us. "Odysseus," they exclaimed, "how do you come to be here? What evil power has dealt you this blow? We did our best to help you on our way home to Ithaca, or any port that you might choose." I replied sorrowfully. "An untrustworthy crew, and a fatal sleep were my downfall. Put things right for me, my friends. You easily could." It was with these placatory words that I appealed to them. They remained silent. Then the father answered, "Get off this island instantly. The world holds no one more damnable than you, and it is not right for me to entertain and equip a man detested by the blessed gods. Your returning like this shows they detest you. Get out." Thus he dismissed me from his palace, causing me deep distress. We left the island and resumed our journey in a state of gloom, and the heart was taken out of my men by the wearisome rowing. But it was our own stupidity that deprived us of the wind. For 6 days and 6 nights we sailed on, and on the 7th we came to Telepylus, Lammas' stronghold in the Lystragonian land, where herdsmen bringing in their flocks at night exchange greetings with other herdsmen, driving out at dawn. For in this land, nightfall and morning tread so closely on each other's heels that a man who could do without sleep might earn 2 wages, one for herding cattle and the other for shepherding flocks of white sheep. Here we found an excellent harbour, closed in on all sides by an unbroken ring of precipitous cliffs, with 2 jutting headlands facing each other at the mouth, so as to leave only a narrow channel in between. The captains of my squadron all steered their curved craft straight into the harbour, and tied up in the sheltered waters within. They remained close together, for it was obvious that there was never any swell there, nor slight or strong, but always a flat calm. But I did not follow them. Instead, I brought my black ship to rest outside the harbour, and made her fast with a cable to a rock at the end of the point. I then climbed to the headland to get a view from the top. No cultivated fields or herds of cattle were visible. All we saw was a wisp of smoke rising up from the countryside. So I sent a party inland to find out what sort of people the inhabitants were. 2 of my men, together with a messenger. When they had left the ships, they found a well-worn track used by wagons, bringing timber down from the high mountains to the town. Presently they came across a strong girl drawing water outside the town, the daughter of Antiphates, the Lystragonian chief. She had come down to a bubbling spring called Odyssey, from which the townspeople drew their water. When they went up and asked her who the ruler of the country was, and what his people were called, she pointed at once to the high roof of her father's dwelling. When they entered his palace, they were confronted by Antiphates' wife, a woman of mountainous proportions. The sight of her appalled them. She called her husband, the famous Antiphates from the assembly place, who promptly made his murderous intentions clear, pouncing on one of my men to eat him for supper. The other 2 sprang back and fled, and managed to make their way back to the ships. Meanwhile, Antiphates raised a hue and a cry through the town, which brought countless members of the powerful Lystragonians running up from every side, more like giants than men. Standing at the top of the cliffs, they began pelting my flotilla with lumps of rock such as an ordinary man could barely lift, and the din that now rose from the ships, where the groans of dying men could be heard over the splintering timbers, was appalling. They carried them off like fishes on a spear to make their loathsome meal. But while this massacre was still going on in the deep harbour, I drew my sword from my ship, slashed the hawser of my blue-prowed vessel, and shouted to the crew to bend their oars if they wished to save their lives. With the fear of death upon them, they struck the water like one man, and to our relief and joy, we shot out to sea, and left those frowning cliffs behind. My ship was safe, but that was the end of all the rest. We travelled on with heavy hearts, grieving for the loss of our dear friends, though rejoicing at our own escape. In due course we came to the island of Aea, the home of the beautiful Circe, a formidable goddess, with a mortal woman's voice. She is the sister of the baleful Aeetes, both being children of the sun, who lights the world by the same mother, Perse, the daughter of the ocean. We brought our ship into the shelter of the harbour without making a sound. Some god guided us in, and when we had disembarked, we lay on the beach for 2 days and nights. utterly exhausted and eating our hearts out with grief. When dawn, with her beautiful tresses, ushered in the third day, I took my spear and sword, left the ship, and struck inland, making for a vantage point from which I might see signs of cultivation or hear men's voices. I climbed a rocky height, and on reaching the top, I was able to see the smoke rising from the distant palace, or the distant place, where Circe's house lay in a clearing among the dense oak scrub and forest trees. That glimpse I had of reddish smoke left me in two minds whether or not to press forward or reconnoitre. After some thought, I decided the better course would be to return first to my ship on the beach, give my men a meal, and send out an exploring party. And then some god was moved to pity by my forlorn condition, for when I had almost reached the ship, he sent a great antlered stag right across my path. The fierce heat of the sun had driven him down the forest pastures to drink at a stream, and as he came up from the water, I struck him on the spine halfway down his back. My bronze spear went straight through him, and with a bellow he fell in the dust and was dead. With one foot on his carcass, I dragged the bronze spear out of the wound, laid it on the ground, and left it there while I broke off creepers and shoots from the undergrowth and willows, which I twisted into fathoms length of rope, carefully plaited from end to end. With this, I tied the monster's feet together, and, slinging him round my neck, I made for the ship, using my spear as a staff. I could not possibly have balanced him on one shoulder with my free hand. He was a massive brute. When I reached the ship, I did the stag in front of it, and going up to each man, in turn, heartened them with a cheerful word. "My friends," I said, "we may be miserable, but we are not going down to the house of Hades yet. Not till our time has come. Get up. And while there's food and drink on board, let us have something to eat, instead of dying here of starvation." This was advice they took readily enough. They at once flung off their rugs, and there, on the desolate seashore, they gazed open-mouthed at the stag. He really was a monster. When they had feasted their eyes on the sight, they washed their hands and prepared a glorious meal. So the whole day long till sundown we sat down to a feast of unlimited meat and mellow wine. When the sun set and darkness fell, we lay down to sleep on the seashore. As soon as dawn appeared, fresh and rosy-fingered, I gathered my men around and addressed them. "Comrades in suffering, friends, listen to me. We are utterly lost. We do not know where east or west is, where the light-giving sun rises, or where he sets. So the sooner we decide on a sensible plan, the better. If one can still be found, which I doubt. If one can still be found, which I doubt. For when I climbed the crag, I found that this is an island, and low-lying. All round it, in a ring, the sea stretches away to the horizon. But what I did see, right in the middle, through dense oak scrub and forest, was a wisp of smoke. When they heard my report, they broke down completely. They could not help remembering what Antiphates the Lastrygonians had done, and the unbridled savagery of the man-eating Cyclops. They burst into loud sobs, and the tears streamed down their cheeks. But they might have spared themselves their lamentations for all the good they did. In the end, I divided my well-armed crew into two parties, with a leader for each. Of one party, I myself took charge. The other I gave to the noble Eurylochus. Then we shook lots in a bronze helmet, and out jumped the lot of the great-hearted Eurylochus. So he went off with his 22 men, a tearful company, leaving us, who stayed behind weeping too. In a clearing and a glade, they came upon Circe's house, built of polished stone. Prowling about the place were mountain wolves and lions that Circe had bewitched with her magic drugs. They did not attack my men, but rose on their hind legs to fawn on them with much wagging of their long tails, like dogs fawning on their master, as he comes from the table for the tasty bits he always brings. In the same way, these wolves and lions with great claws fawned by men. Terrified at the sight of the formidable beasts, they stood in the palace porch of the goddess with the lovely tresses. They could hear Circe within, singing in her beautiful voice, as she went to and fro at her great and everlasting loom, on which she was weaving one of those delicate, graceful, and dazzling fabrics that goddesses make. Polites, an authoritative man, and the one in my party whom I liked and trusted most, now took the lead. "Friends," he said, "there's someone in the castle working at a loom. Oh, the whole place echoes that lovely voice. It's either a goddess or a woman. Let us call to her immediately." So they called to Circe, and Circe came out at once, opened the polished doors, and invited them to enter. In their innocence, the whole party followed her in. But Eurylochus suspected a trap, and stayed outside. Circe ushered the rest into her hall, gave them seats and chairs to sit on, then prepared them a mixture of cheese, barley meal, and yellow honey flavoured with Pramnian wine. But into these dishes she introduced a noxious drug to make them lose all memory of their native land. And when they had emptied the bowls which she had handed them, Kikion, yes, I'm glad you corrected that, Pickle. Kikion, yes. In this dish she introduced a noxious drug to make them lose all memory of their native land. And when they had emptied the bowls which she had handed them, she drove them with blows of a stick into the pigsties. Now they had pigs' heads and bristles, and they grunted like pigs, but their minds were as human as they had been before. So, weeping, they were penned in their sties, and Circe flung them some forest nuts and acorns and cornel berries, the usual food of pigs that wallow in the mud. Meanwhile, Eurylochus came back to the swift black ship to report the catastrophe his party had met with. He was in such anguish that he could not utter a single word. His eyes were filled with tears, and he felt on the verge of breaking down. Exasperated, we all bombarded him with questions, till at length he came out with the story of his comrade's fate. "We went, as you ordered, through the woods, noble Odysseus. In a clearing and a glade, we came to a well-built house of polished stone. Someone inside was singing in a clear voice. She went to and fro in a great web. Whether a goddess or a woman, my men called, and she came out. Immediately opened the doors and invited us to enter. In her innocence, the whole party followed her in, but I suspected a trap and stayed outside. And now the whole party has been wiped out. Not a single man reappeared, though I sat there a long time watching." When I heard this story, I slung my big bronze silver-studded sword on its silver scabbard over my shoulder, then my bow, and I told Eurylochus to take me back with him the way he had come. But he threw his arms round my knees in supplication and broke into pitiful appeal. "Favourite of Zeus," he said, "leave me behind. Don't force me to go with you there. You will never come back yourself, and you won't rescue a single man of your crew. I'm certain of it. Let us get away quickly with those that are left here. We might still escape the evil day." "Very well, Eurylochus," I replied. "Stay where you are, and eat and drink by the black ship's hull. But I shall go. I have absolutely no choice." With this, I turned my back on the ship and the sea, and struck inland. But, threading my way through the enchanted glades, I was nearing the sorceress's palace, when I met Hermes, god of the golden wand, looking like a young man at the most charming age, when the beard first starts to grow. He took my hand in his and greeted me amiably. "Where are you off to now, my poor fellow?" he said. "Wandering alone through the wilds in unknown country? With your friends in Circe's house, penned like pigs in the crowded sties? Have you come here to free them? Oh, I think you are more likely to stay with them yourself than never see your home. However, I will save you and deliver you from your trouble. Look, here is a drug of real virtue that you must take with you into Circe's palace. It will make you immune from evil. I will tell you how she works her black magic. She'll begin by preparing you a mixture, into which she'll put her drug. But even with its help, she'll be unable to enchant you, for this antidote I am going to give you will rob it of its power. I'll tell you exactly what to do. When Circe strikes you with a long stick, you must draw your sword from your side and rush at her as though you mean to kill her. She will shrink from you in terror and invite you to her bed. You must not refuse the goddess's favours, if you want her to free your men and look after you. But make her swear a solemn oath by the blessed gods not to try any more of her tricks on you, or when she has you stripped naked, she may rob you of your courage and your manhood." Then the giant killer handed me a herb that he had plucked from the ground and showed me what it was like. It had a black root and a milk-white flower. The gods call it moly, and it is a dangerous plant for mortal men to dig up. But the gods, after all, can do anything. Hermes went off through the island forest, making for high Olympus, while I, with a heart oppressed by many dark forebodings, pursued my way to Circe's home. I stood at the doors of the lovely goddess's palace, and called out. Circe heard me, came out immediately, and, opening the polished doors, invited me in. Filled with misgivings, I followed her indoors, and she offered me a beautiful, silver-studded chair with a stool for my feet. She prepared a brew in a golden bowl for me to drink, and with evil in her heart, she dropped in the drug. She gave me the bowl, and I drained it, but without suffering any magic effects. She struck me with her stick and shouted, "Off to the pigsty, and lie down with your friends." Whereupon I snatched my keen sword from my hip and rushed at Circe as though I meant to kill her. But with a shriek she slipped below my blade and clasped to my knees and burst into tears. "Who are you, and where do you come from?" she asked, and her words had wings. "Where is your native town? Who are your parents?" "I am amazed to see you take my drug and suffer no magic change. For never before have I known a man who could resist the drug once he had taken it and swallowed it down. You must have a heart in your breast that is proof against all enchantment. I am sure you are Odysseus, that resourceful man, the man whom the giant killer with the golden wand always told me to expect here on his way back from Troy in his swift black ship. Oh, but now put up your sword and come with me to my bed, so that in making love we may learn to trust one another." "Circe," I answered her, "how can you order me to be gentle with you? You, who have turned my friends into pigs here in your house, and now that you have me too in your clutches, are unveiling me to your bedroom and inviting me to your bed, to strip me naked and rob me of my courage and manhood? Nothing, goddess, would induce me to come into your bed unless you can bring yourself to swear a solemn oath that you have no other mischief in store for me." Circe at once swore as I ordered her. So when she had duly sworn the oath, I went with the goddess to her beautiful bed. Meanwhile, the 4 maids who did the housework for Circe were busying themselves in the palace. They are the daughters of springs and groves and sacred rivers that flow out into the sea. One of them threw linen covers over the chairs and spread fine purple rugs on top. Another drew silver tables up to the chairs, and placed golden dishes upon them. The third mixed the sweet and mellow wine in a silver bowl, and set out the golden cups. And the fourth fetched water, and lit a fire under the big cauldron, and the water grew warm. When the shining bronze vessel was boiling, she sat me in the bath, and washed me with water from the great cauldron, mixed with cold to comfortable heat. Sluicing my head and shoulders till all the painful weariness was gone from my limbs, my bath done, she rubbed me with olive oil, clothed me in a tunic and a splendid cloak, and seated me on a beautiful silver-studded chair with a footstool beneath. Next came another maid, with water in a splendid golden ewer. She poured it over with a silver basin so that I could rinse my hands, and then I drew up a polished table to my side. A trusty housekeeper brought some bread, which she put by me with a variety of delicacies, and after helping me liberally to all she could offer, she invited me to eat. But I had no heart for eating. As I sat there, my thoughts were elsewhere, and my mind was full of foreboding. When Circe saw me sitting quiet, and not helping myself to the food, she knew that I was in deep anguish. So she came and stood by me, and said with words that flew, "Odysseus, why are you sitting like this as though you were dumb, and feeding on your own thoughts, feeding on your own thoughts instead of helping yourself to meat and wine? Do you suspect another trap? You need have no fears. I have given you a solemn oath to do you no harm." "Circe," I answered her, "could any honourable man bear to taste food and drink before he had freed his men and seen them face to face? If you are sincere in asking me to eat and drink, give them their liberty, and let me set eyes on my loyal followers." Stick in hand, Circe went out to the hall, threw open the pigsty gate, and drove them out, looking exactly like full-grown swine. When they were all in front of her, she went in among them, and smeared them each in turn with some new ointment. Then the bristles, which her first deadly potion had caused to sprout, dropped off their heads, and they became men again and looked younger and much more handsome and taller than before. They recognized me now, and one after the other seized my hand. We were so moved that we all wept tears of happiness, till the walls echoed with the mournful sound. Even the goddess felt pity, and came to me and said, "Favourite of Zeus, son of Laertes, Odysseus of the many devices, go down now to your ship by the seashore, drag her straight away onto dry land, and stow your possessions and all the ship's tackle in a cave, and then come back yourself with the rest of your loyal company." At this my proud heart was convinced. I went to the ship and to the seashore. I found my good companions by the ship, lamenting pitifully, with tears streaming down their cheeks. But as soon as they caught sight of me, they were all round me in a weeping throng. It was like the scene of a farm when cows in droves come home full fed from the pastures to the yard, and are welcomed by all their frisking calves, who burst out from the pens to gambol round their mothers, lowing excitedly. My men were deeply moved, as if they had reached their homeland and were standing in their own town, in rugged Ithaca, where they were born and bred. "Favourite of Zeus," they said between their sobs, "we are as happy to see you back as we would be to step foot on our own island of Ithaca. But tell us how our comrades met their end." I gave them a soothing reply. "Our first business," I said, "is to drag up the ship onto dry land, and store our possessions and tackle in a cave. Then you must get ready, and all come with me, and see your friends eating and drinking in Circe's enchanted palace, where they have enough to last them forever." They were quick to be convinced by my suggestion. Only Eurylochus was against me, and did his best to keep the whole company back. Where are we poor wretches off to now?" he cried with winged words. "Why are you looking for trouble? Go into Circe's palace, where she will turn you all into pigs or wolves or lions, and force you to keep watch over that great house of hers? We have had all this before. With the Cyclops, with our friends, when our friends found their ways into his fold with this foolhardy Odysseus. It was this man's reckless folly that cost them their lives. Now when Eurylochus said that, I considered drawing the long sword from my sturdy side and lopping his head off to roll in the dust, even though he was a close kinsman of mine. But my men held me back and calmed me down. "Fair to Zeus," they said, "let's leave this man here to guard the ship, if that is your order. But you lead us to Circe's enchanted castle." So they left the ship and the sea and struck inland. Eurylochus came with us after all. He was not going to be left by the ships. He was afraid of the stinging rebuke I might give him. Circe, meanwhile, had graciously bathed the members of my party in her palace. Let me read that again. Circe, meanwhile, had graciously bathed the members of my party in her palace, and rubbed them with olive oil. She gave them all tunics and warm cloaks to wear, so that on our arrival we found them having dinner in the hall. When the two companies came face to face, and they all recognized each other, they burst into tears, and the whole house echoed to their sobs. Then the goddess approached me. Have a sip of water first. "Heaven-born son of Laertes," she said, "resourceful Odysseus. Check this immoderate grief. I know as well as you all you have gone through on the teeming seas and suffered at the hands of savages on land. But now eat your food and drink and your wine, till you are once more the men you were when you first sailed from your homes in rugged Ithaca. You are worn out and dispirited, always brooding on the hardships of your travels. Your sufferings have been so continuous that you have lost all pleasure in living." My gallant company were not difficult to persuade. We stayed on day after day for a whole year, feasting on lavish quantities of meat and mellow wine. But as the months went by and the seasons passed and the long days returned, my loyal companions called me aside one day and said, "What possesses you to stay on here? It's time you thought of Ithaca, if the gods mean you to escape and get back to your ancestral home and your own country." This was enough. My proud heart was convinced. For the rest of that day till sunset we sat and feasted on lavish quantities of meat and mellow wine. When the sun sank and night fell, my men settled down for sleep on the darkened hall, but I went to Circe's beautiful bed, and there clasped the goddess's knees in supplication, and she listened to my winged words. "Circe," I said, "keep the promise which you once made me, to send me home. I am now eager to be gone, and so are all my men. Whenever you are not present, they stand around and exhaust me with their complaints." "Heaven-born son of Laertes, resourceful Odysseus," the goddess answered me, "do not stay on unwillingly. But first you have to make another journey and find your way to the halls of Hades and dread Persephone, to consult the soul of Tiresias, the blind Theban prophet. His faculties are unimpaired, for dead though he is, Persephone has granted him, and him alone, continuing wisdom. The others there are mere shadows, flitting to and fro." This news broke my heart. Sitting on the bed, I wept. I had no further use for life, no wish to see the sunshine any more. But when at last I had satisfied my need for tears, and for tossing and turning on the bed, I began to question her. "Circe, who is to guide me on the way? No one has ever sailed a black ship into hell." "Heaven-born son of Laertes, resourceful Odysseus," the goddess answered me, "do not think of lingering on shore for lack of a pilot. Set up your mast, spread the white sail, and sit down in the ship. The north wind will blow her on her way, and when she has brought you across the river of Ocean, you will come to the wild coast and Persephone's grove, where the tall poplars grow, and the willows that so quickly shed their seeds. Beach your boat there, by ocean's swirling stream, and go on into Hades' kingdom of decay. There, at a rocky pinnacle, the river of flaming fire and the river of lamentation, which is a branch of the waters of Styx, meet, and pour their thundering streams into Acheron. When you reach this place, do as I tell you, my lord. Dig a trench as long and wide as a man's forearm. Go round this trench and pour offerings to all the dead. First, with a mixture of honey and milk, and then with sweet wine, and last of all, with water. Over all this, sprinkle white barley, and then begin your prayers to the helpless ghosts of the dead. Promise them that once you are in Ithaca, you will sacrifice a barren heifer in your palace, the best that you have, and will heap the pyre with treasures, and make Tiresias a separate offering of the finest jet-black sheep in your flock. When you have finished your invocations to the glorious company of the dead, sacrifice a ram and a black ewe, holding their heads down towards Erebus, while you turn your own to face the river of ocean. The spirits of the dead and departed will come up in their multitudes. Then you must immediately order your men to flay the sheep that are lying there, slaughtered by your pitiless blade, and burn them sacrificially, praying to the gods, to mighty Hades and august Persephone. Sit still yourself meanwhile, with your drawn swords in your hand, and do not let any of the helpless ghosts come near to the blood till you question Tiresias. Presently the prophet himself will come to you, my lord king, and he will prophesy your route, the stages of your journey, and how you will reach home across the teeming seas. Circe finished, and soon after, dawn rose from the throne of gold. The nymph dressed me in my tunic and cloak, and herself put on a long robe with a silvery sheen, of a light fabric, charming to the eye. Round her waist she fashioned a splendid golden belt, and she put a veil over her head. Then I walked through the palace, and made the round of my men, rousing them each with a cheerful word. "Wake up," I said, "and bid your pleasant sleep farewell. It's time to go. My lady Circe has made everything clear." My gallant band agreed gladly enough, but even this time I did not lead them all the way to safety. Lead them all away safely. So, let me read that again. My gallant band agreed gladly enough, but even this time I did not lead them all away safely. There was one called Elpenor, the youngest of the party, not much of a fighting man, and not very clever. This young man had got drunk, and longing for fresh air had left his friends and gone to sleep on the roof of Circe's enchanted palace. Roused in the morning by the bustle and din of the departure, he leapt up suddenly, and forgetting to go down the long ladder and take the proper way down, he toppled headlong from the roof. He broke his neck, and his soul went to Hades. R.I.P. When the rest of the party joined me, I said to them, "You no doubt imagine that you are bound for home and our beloved Ithaca, but Circe has marked us out for a very different route, to the halls of Hades and dread Persephone, where we must seek advice of the spirit of Theban Tiresias." When I told them this, they were heartbroken. They sat down, and they wept, They sat down where they were and wept and tore their hair, but their lamentations achieved nothing. We made our way to our ship and the beach with heavy hearts and with many tears. Meanwhile, Circe had gone ahead and tethered a ram and a black ewe to my ship. She had slipped past us with ease. When a god wishes to remain unseen, what eye can observe is coming or going. And yeah, that's the end of book 10. That's the end of Circe. Well, not the end of Circe. Circe does come back in a little while, actually, after they've gone to the House of the Dead, the Halls of the Dead, even. But yeah, that's the book of Circe. Unfortunately, there is not a stick dance number in this one, which I think Epic did a good job of adding. Honestly, I think it was a welcome improvement, one might say, of an Epic dance number. Also, I really appreciate that one joke where it's like she had us as just 2 words. What was it? Come inside. Like, damn, all right. That's a good joke. It's a good bit. Come aside. I think it's a really interesting book. A lot of lesser deities, a lot of demigods. You know, Aeolus, Circe. It mentions a couple things. We can get through them in order, I guess. First off, then, okay. Let's go with Aeolus. So Aeolus is not like a major god. It doesn't even describe him as a god here, but instead that he's been given control of the winds by Zeus. And imprisoned the boisterous energies of all the winds. Zeus had put him in charge of the winds, with power to lay or rouse them at will. He is essentially a demigod, right? He's a lesser deity. And, though, it doesn't refer to him as any kind of god here, just a king. But, he lives on a floating island, so he's magic. Aeolus is magic. He's a magic being. I think he was just a king, though I'm not sure. Yeah. It's kind of mixed. There are other sources which say that he was a god. Again, there are like many lesser deities mentioned all throughout Greek stories, though, many of which were not actively worshipped. It's very likely that something I've not mentioned yet already. So there is a very decent possibility that many of these adventures taken for the Odyssey originally came from stories of the Argonauts. And their journeys together, and the journeys of the Argonauts. It's very likely that Homer, when composing the poem, took these stories or took versions of them and put them as adventurous footstones in Odysseus' way home. And this makes sense. They're all like sea-based adventures, going onto islands and exploring. Again, all very similar to what the Argonauts would have done. So yeah, many famous exploits there. That is speculation, mind. I don't think there's any real evidence, though. I don't think any of the stories would be out of place in either or of the sagas, I guess. But either way, yes, there's tons of lesser deities here. Tons of nymphs appear all over the Odyssey. Aeolus seems to be some kind of either magic king or lesser god. I will have to look that up, and I will let you know next time. But yeah, even if he may have very well been an invention by Homer, even. As there absolutely were some inventions from his own here, but obviously, to what extent was what, we don't know. Indeed, there may have been legends of a floating island governed by Aeolia. Oh, sorry, governed by Aeolus, and this was his kingdom, Aeolia. But yeah, big family, 6 daughters, family of 12, 6 daughters and 6 grown sons. He has given his daughters to his sons in marriage. This leads me to believe that they're deities, because incestuous nature of that kind was not uncommon with lesser gods, because they didn't really think about it that way. Incest between humans was a different matter, unless you may be cousins, but we'll get onto that in a bit, actually. Now, with cousins, that is, but yeah. Like many gods are incestuous in some degree, and most divine beings in Greek myth are related together in some capacity. So you're not meant to think of it as anything odd for them. But again, they're beyond the realms of humanity, so who cares? Who cares if they don't follow human rules? They enforce them; they do not need to obey them. That's an important distinction between deities and other religions. Obviously here we have the tragic betrayal of Odysseus' crew. This entire book kind of shows Odysseus is kind of losing control of his men. He has a large crew who is growing more and more distrustful of him as time is going on. There's this whole thing here saying, oh, we've been at war just as long as he has. We've been away just as long as he has. And why do we not have the same things to show for it that he does? So there's a bit of distrust constantly brewing here. And I didn't remember this. Aeolus really, really is angry here. That the very fact that he's returned back home is a sign to him that he's been cursed by the gods. He's been abandoned by them. They remained silent, and the father answered, "Get off this island and instantly." This is not politeness. This is pure anger. This is pure rage. Get off this island instantly. The world holds no one more damnable than you, and it is not right for me to entertain and equip a man detested by the gods. Your returning like this shows they detest you. Get out. And this is the first time we've seen anything like this, really. I mean, obviously, Polyphemus had very bad Xenia, very bad Xenia? Yeah. He was not very hospitable at all, eating the people who wanted refuge. And I guess this is a thing throughout this book, these few books as well. All of these examples we've had before of very good hospitality and people inviting in their homes are all they're all terrible examples here. Polyphemus eating people, Aeolus. Though Aeolus does have reason, I guess he believes they've been damned by the gods, so I get that. But he turns away. Obviously, Circe turns the people she invites into pigs. A lot of examples of what not to do to your guests at a family dinner. But yeah. So obviously, there's a bit of a. We move on next to the giants. Now, if you watched Epic, they make brief mention of this, where the winds are taking the islands of the giants. This doesn't happen in the original poem. They just kind of get there after they fuck up with the winds. They get there by natural means. But yes, Telepilus is the land is this land. The giants are referred to as the Lystragonians, and there's an interesting build-up here where it starts to show there's what refers to as a lexical set, right? A lot of word choices used to try and describe this place as really habitable, with a lot of not just industry but society. You know, it's an excellent harbor here. There's herdsmen and which can work all day and night because of how short and long the days are, and the well-worn track used by wagons bringing down timber from high in the mountains. All these things to show an extremely, civilized, advanced society. The daughter of Antiphates, the leader of the Lystragonians, he has a palace, and his daughter points to that to go to them, only to find that she's seemingly a strong but a normal-sized person. The full-grown Lystragonians are giants. They're huge, and despite their civilized nature, they are cannibals. Or maybe it's not cannibalism in this case, because they're technically not human, but they eat humans. And this is where Odysseus' fleet gets destroyed. All the crew, all the ships, the fleet who were put on shore are absolutely decimated by these giants and are eaten alive by them in a horrifying display. And yeah, I just think it's a really interesting contrast there. There's this kind of element of safety almost in highlighting them as this kind of civilized society. Though a civilized society only to then have this big turnaround where, oh no, they're actually giants and they also eat people. Interesting as well. There's this notable caution from Odysseus here now that they've already messed up once. Notable caution that he doesn't moor his ship with the other ships. He ties it to a further end of it, and so they can escape easier, which ends up saving their lives. But yeah, I just kind of I love that contrast. Very much building in the safety that these are all very well developed people, and oh wow, it's a wonderful land to live in. And yeah, they're cannibals. the giant man-eating monsters. There's a lot of mention of the Lystragonians throughout a lot of works throughout history as well. People love the idea of these just giant man-eaters. But yeah, I think that's rather interesting. But yeah, unfortunately, this is where his entire crew is now. Most of his crew has been decimated, all either sunk by them throwing boulders at them, or eaten by the Lystragonians. Rest in peace, all those fellows. Okay, let's talk about Circe. So first off, she's the sister of the baleful Aeetes. So we talked before about Medea, or Medea, however you want to pronounce it. Actually, Medea. Wife of Jason, who, gets betrayed by him, kind of goes a bit off the deep end. Just a little bit. Not that. I mean, I don't know. Jokes aside, Aeetes is the mother of Medea, and Circe is the sister of Aeetes, so she's Medea's aunt, I guess. But yeah, I mean, Medea does have it is related to gods. I can't remember if she's a goddess herself, but I think her father was a human, if I remember correctly. But yeah, the reason why she has all this cool godly magic is because of her godly lineage. I guess she learnt it from Aeetes, because normally female goddesses do not pass on any kind of divine lineage normally through blood, but she still learnt a lot of magic and stuff. But anyway, Circe is the sister of Aeetes, and it mentions that they are both the children of Hyperion, the sun god, and Perse, the daughter of the ocean, who's a nymph essentially. Again, many nymphs, you don't need to know them all. Many of them were not named. Though, as we'll get onto here, many nymphs were just believed to be spirits of naturally occurring things like lakes and rivers and things. So for every one of those, there was meant to be a nymph of some kind. But yeah. So you already know that there's an idea that it'll be known from the audience that Circe is not going to be all that good. I mean, granted, we've already been informed of this. Odysseus is mentioned several times, or rather, Homer has mentioned several times from Odysseus' perspective, all about the hateful Circe. But regardless. So first time here where we really get some discussion about some of the other cast members here. Oh, actually, hang on. First up, before that, very early on, it says, "My friends, I said, we may be miserable, but we are not going down to the house of Hades yet." This, of course, is a narrative device called foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is a narrative device. But yes, this is the first time where we really get introduced to some of the other members of Odysseus' crew. The only character who's been mentioned by name who was in Odysseus' crew was in the very first, in the second book even, which was Antithus, the son of one of the local lords of Ithaca, who it mentions as being one of the people who got killed in the attack from the Cyclops. So Polydamas has already eaten him. There's no mention of him anywhere else in the book. So I don't know why they brought him up there, but I guess it was maybe just to show a generational gap there, because his Antithus' brother is one of the suitors for Penelope. He's messing everything up. But yeah, this is real first time getting introduced any of the crew. Eurylochus, described as noble Eurylochus, and he's also, I should mention, Eurylochus is actually Odysseus' cousin. If I remember correctly, it's Eurylochus married Odysseus' older sister. I think, was it older sister? No, yeah, he's an older sister. If I remember correctly, Eurylochus married Odysseus' sister, and so they're cousins, I guess, now, or something like that. If I remember correctly, it doesn't really mention it much here at the moment. I think it mentions it a bit later on. But Eurylochus and him are cousins, and they well know each other. They are long-term friends, and they are family. I know he has good things to say. Noble Eurylochus, and And yeah, great-hearted Eurolocust. These really powerful epithets for maybe a bit generic, one might say, but all these like kind things to say about him. Obviously here there's very wonderful imagery. The dogs, like of all these like wild animals, wolves and was it wolves and tigers? Was it? Yeah, wolves and lions rather. Wolves and lions, like dogs fawning on their master as he comes from table for the tasty bits he always brings. This is obviously is an imagery a lot of people can relate to. Hello, Lamette, my dear. How you doing, my friend? What is that emote? What is that? Clumsy little guy. Clumsy 134 little guy spin. Well, we're learning about the Odyssey. You just missed us reading through all of the book of Circe. However, we are discussing it at the moment, so there's still time to learn some little bits and bobs, my friend. I was lurking? Never mind then. Fuck me. But yeah, we're doing good. We're just learning. And isn't that a gift? Learning is the gift that keeps on giving. Oh, actually, so we're talking about the language of the animals being treated like, shown like dogs fawning at their master. Really lovely imagery here. They could hear Circe within singing in her beautiful voice as she went to and fro at her great and everlasting loom. There's a very hypnotic quality here, which is all in leading with Circe's character, right? She's very much this very beautiful, pretty lady who's always, oh yes, please come in, I'll invite you in, I'll look after you all. And it's all very a lot of imagery of this hypnotic qualities that she has, and yeah, delicate, graceful, and dazzling fabrics that goddesses make. Yeah, again, a lot of you call it a lexical set of hypnotism, realistically. Now let's talk about Polites. Polites is one line in the entire poem, and it's this line here. Now, in Epic the Musical, Polites is made to be one of Odysseus' best and longtime friends. Kind of like optimistic to a detrimental degree, one might say. And he's like, oh man, life is amazing. And his constant, like, what's it called? Conceit? Treat the world with open arms, treat the world with open arms. Life could be amazing. Anyway, it goes on like that. And he's all about treating the world with open arms. I can totally understand why that was the characterization he went for. Wait, I'm sorry, who's the man who made Epic Musical again? I can't remember his name. I can totally understand why that was the characterization he went for Polites, when the introduction of Polites is that just George. That's his stage name, George. It's like when Prince changed his name to that weird symbol, and everyone's like the artist formerly known as Prince. But no, he refers to him as Polites, and it's pronounced as Hjorge. Hjorge. Hjord. Like Hjorge. Huge ass. Huge assman. Huge. I don't know. So dumb. So, yeah, I can understand exactly why he gave Polites this kind of ridiculously positive attitude, where Odysseus describes me as an authoritative man, the one in the party whom I liked and trusted most. So he's well liked, trusted, all these nice things, And Polites, bless him, first thing he says upon hearing this beautiful singing voice is, oh friends, there's someone in the castle working at a loom. The whole place echoes to that lovely voice. It's either a goddess or a woman. Let us call to her immediately. This is, of course, obviously a trap. But, bless him, poor Polites, he's just like, oh wow, what a pretty voice. Oh wow, isn't this lovely? Oh, let's come on, fellas, what could possibly go wrong? Honestly, I kind of appreciate that he kind of amped this up and when you're trying to fill out a cast and you have very limited options as to how to do that, making Polites this extremely optimistic fellow who's just like, man, isn't the world great? Let's greet things with open arms. Let's be open about life and the opportunities. Really pushed it to the limit, and I kind of appreciate that. Now, Pickle, you already mentioned this. Let's talk about this. So obviously there's a lot of language here to talk about how wealthy it is. She's got like a house with her building is made of like like polished stone. It's got polished doors, all these like wonderful things, and she's got silver chairs and such. She prepared for them a mixture of cheese, barley meal, and yellow honey flavored with Pramnian wine. This is a common thing which has been shown in a lot of old Greek stories. It's a dish called kikion. There's a wonderful video by Tasting History where he attempts to recreate kikion. If I remember correctly, it did not work out very well. Yeah, it turns out there's not really many good recipes for it, as a lot of it is a fictional thing. It's mentioned in the Iliad as well, yeah. Kind of drunk off it some. Well, it has wine in it, right? So, yeah, there's a problem with this in that cheese, barley meal, yellow honey, and all flavored with Pramnian wine. Turns out none of those things really mix that well, and when Max Miller from Tasting History tried to recreate this, it did not work out very well. But hey, maybe you want to give it a try at home if you can get some Pramnian wine. I don't know what makes Pramnian wine different. Perhaps you just need to water it down a bit more. Maybe you need to use less wine. I'm not sure. Again, we talked the other week about how old Greek wine used to be watered down quite significantly, and the reason why they were able to get Polyphemus knocked out was because they gave him wine which would need basically had like a 1 to 20 in order to be palatable for humans. Needed a 1 to 20 ratio of one wine, 20 water. Very, very strong alcohol. Of course, I don't know if that's the case here, or indeed if this is even being watered down at all. Maybe this is straight wine and it's just a tiny bit of it mixed in with these things to flavor it. But yes, she introduced a noxious drug to make them lose all memory of their native land. I'm pretty sure it was described as super strong and dry. Pramnian wine, you mean? Or of the dish? Oh my god, kikion. The wine, I see. Interesting. It's a good thing I'll never try it, because I don't really like wine. Maybe, actually, maybe if I went to Greece and I got the chance to try genuine Pramnian wine, maybe I'd give it a go. I don't know. Maybe it'd be nice to give it a try. It's like a weird touristy thing. I'm not sure. Yes. So again, we have this kind of fear here. They lose all memory of their native land, much like what happened earlier on with the lotus flower consumed by the lotus eater tribe. This constant threat of forgetting where you're from, forgetting your homeland is always present throughout it all. Some interesting characterization of Eurylochus here as well. Again, this is our first time really meeting this character, and I think they do a really good job of him. Suspected a trap and stayed outside, a very obviously in stark contrast to the words of Polites beforehand, who was like, "Oh, this is going to be wonderful, folks. Come on, let's all have a jolly good adventure inside this magical castle with this beautiful woman singing. It's going to be I'm sure she's going to be lovely." She was not lovely, but I digress. But Eurylochus is very much cautious. He's if anything, he's very much like Odysseus. Probably more cautious, even, I'd argue. I say this as Odysseus just set his ship off of the ports of the island of the Laestrygonians, lest there be a trap. And lo and behold, there was a trap. But anyway, so yeah, very famously, Circe here turns the crew of Odysseus into pigs and lures them into sties. Really sad imagery here as well. So weeping, they were penned in their sties, and Circe flung them some forest nuts, acorns, and cornel berries, the usual food for pigs that wallow in mud. Very sad imagery there, it's a real shame. But yeah, wonderfully tragic as well. And then Eurylochus comes back, relays the story. just want to make a note of this one line here. It's a really heroic sounding line. When I heard this story, I slung my silver studded sword in its silver scabbard over my shoulder. Lots of sibilants there, all the S sounds. Lots of sibilants just kind of really highlight the heroism of this maneuver he's just done. And Eurolocus here is rather terrified. He's like, no, we don't need to go back for them. We can still escape. As he says, we might still escape the evil day. And Odysseus will have none of it. He says, stay where you are, eat and drink. I shall go. I have absolutely no choice. Despite Odysseus's misgivings about his crew, there is still this thing where he has his responsibility for them, his heroic responsibility, his captain's responsibility, and his responsibility for his brothers in arms, his comrades who have been with him to war and back. So he is willing to risk it all to save them, which is very kind of him. Very nice. Again, they could have very easily just left, but they didn't. I think Eurolocus is not incorrect for bringing up that idea, but obviously, Odysseus is the hero. He has to do this. And here we have Hermes again. Everyone loves Hermes. Shout out to Hermes. Interesting to describe him here. Looking like a young man at that most charming age when the beard first starts to grow. Obviously Hermes, if you look at a lot of arts for Hermes throughout history, he's always shown to be very young looking. Matching his personality as well, of being a bit of a trickster. I kind of like the image here of him having a little peach fuzz. I don't know, I think it's very amusing to me. But, yeah. Let's talk about phallic imagery and Odysseus sleeping with another woman again. Everyone's favorite part, I'm sure. Okay. So I mentioned before, a couple of weeks ago now, he sleeps with Calypso. Now, we don't like this as a modern audience because, his wife has been so loyal to him and he's cheating on her behind her back. And here, Hermes is saying, you must draw your sword from your side and rush at her as though you mean to kill her. It's kind of phallic imagery of the sword and rushing at her, and she will shrink from you in terror. You must not refuse the goddess's favors if you want her to be free and look after you. She will shrink from you in terror and invite you to her bed. You must not refuse the goddess's favors. Now, much like with Calypso is a nymph. She's a goddess. She's a divinity. Odysseus is in a bit of a tight spot where he can't deny that. He cannot deny the power that a god has over him. And for one of Hermes' stature as well to say, you need to do this. To disobey that would be heretical to the nth degree. So, whilst we may not like it, there is precedent for it. There is reasonable excuse for him to do this, even if in the context of the story, even if we as a modern audience, or maybe even as an audience back then, I'm not sure, even as a modern audience we wouldn't have liked it, though this would have technically been socially acceptable. He has conquered her in battle, essentially. As someone who's been conquered in battle, you claim ownership over them. Indeed, this is the crux of the Iliad, where Achilles claimed ownership of this woman who they just destroyed the town of and ransacked, and she's my concubine now, she's my whore, and this obviously is like, the leader of the Trojans, the leader of the Achaeans, even Agamemnon, he wants her instead, and this is where the big conflict comes in, where Achilles is like, well, if you're taking my girl, I'm taking my men out of the war, and he's like, what? And then he leaves. But yeah, this is technically socially accepted from the time, again, as an act of conquest, though, and while again, it is orders from a god to do this. All under strict rulings as well. So, yeah. You don't need to like it. I personally don't. I think, man, Odysseus, just be... Well, why do you need to be like this? But, yeah. That's that. Oh, and also, yeah. She may rob you of your courage and your manhood. Obviously, very classic. Oh, the woman's evil. She's gonna cut off your dick. Um, I'm sure we've all heard this a million times from like works over the past, oh, looking at my imaginary watch, 3,000 years plus of women are evil and they're gonna steal your dick. You know, much like the tooth fairy stealing your teeth in the night, they're gonna come and steal your wee wang in the middle of the night. Because, you know, that's just what evil witches do, I guess. Moving on from that utterly ridiculous statement. Holy moly! Let's drink some holy moly. Well, actually, no, you don't drink holy moly. I guess you just eat the root. Yeah, humans cannot like harvest moly. As it says, it is a dangerous plant for mortal men to dig up, but the gods, after all, can do anything. Even here, it's showing he's highlighting the gods' power. So who is he to go against the orders of someone like Hermes? There's an interesting thing here as well about Hermes assisting Odysseus here. In that he's done this. He does this later on, obviously, when he is sent to Calypso's island to let him free. But Odysseus is like a distant relative of Hermes. He's like great grandson, I think. One of Odysseus' ancestors is the direct son of Hermes. So perhaps there is, whilst it's not mentioned here, perhaps there is some reason there as to why Hermes takes such interest in Odysseus and why he's willing to help him out, despite the fact that he's been turned on by the other gods, right? But yeah, I think that's just a funny little tidbit there. Just sound like there's anything else of note here. Oh yeah, she tries the seduction so that in making love we may learn to trust one another, and then he makes a sworn oath so that you won't try any trickery, and it's like, fine, okay, I get it. Meanwhile, the four maids who do the housework for Circe were busying themselves in the palace. They are the daughters of springs and groves and sacred rivers. This is what I'm talking about beforehand, where basically for any kind of naturally occurring thing, there's probably some kind of nymph involved. Again, groves, rivers, springs, especially bodies of water. There is almost always a nymph associated with that. Not Homer, but in Virgil's Aeneid, this is the case as well, where there's like local river spirits and stuff, local river nymphs and such. It's not dissimilar to in like Shintoist Japan, where you'd have like a god for everything, like a local river spirit, a river kami and such. A kind of similar idea to that, but the idea of the nymphs that they represent all bodies of water and natural life, and so yeah, there's one for the springs, rivers, and groves here. But yeah, even the nymphs here are working for Circe. You just kind of give an idea of that she is a higher ranking goddess than them. Again, a lot of stuff here all about proper etiquette with like the how to bathe and everything like that, and all the richness of it all. All these wonderfully painted, wonderfully designed cauldrons, all these extremely expensive metals. Again, this is a man in Homer. This is a man writing a story essentially set in Bronze Age Greece, which would have been extremely wealthy, and many of the techniques to get a lot of these things at the time were having to be rediscovered because of a dark age. God of gaps in ancient Greeks. So many deities. Well, it's interesting you bring up God of gaps as well, when there's a gap in history where we don't know how Mycenaean Greece, as it was called, kind of fell off. How it kind of failed society. And indeed, the Greek peoples, and they weren't even Greeks at the time, had to relearn writing and such. I've talked before, but like when we talk about the Phaeacians, they had a lot of building techniques, which when this story would have been penned, circa 800 700 BC, the people of the Greek islands and mainland would have lost access to these kind of skills, so they had to redevelop them. and even the language they had to redevelop. Um, wasn't it because of sea people? Yeah, there's a whole bunch of potential factors. Sea people as like invaders, potentially. I've also heard of potential mass plagues, which is what I was taught as well. Um, Realistically, there's no one way that an entire society could fail. It's people ask how did ancient Rome fail? How did it collapse? And it's like it's not like a thing which happens overnight. An entire society rarely, if ever, collapses overnight. Right? That's not how societies work. It's a process of many different things. But the thing is, the important to remember is that all it takes to lose the skills of a society is the death of one generation, and that's it. Uh, so if you are a smith and you have a child and you die and you don't teach your child the skills you have, that those skills are lost. So yeah, it's very it's not a quick process, but it's an easy process to happen for societies to fall down. But yeah, it's a whole mix of things which uh some of it is speculated, some of it is known. Interestingly, we do have a lot of writings from Mycenaean Greece actually, but nothing like literature. A lot of it is all like first the language it was written was now referred to as Linear B. Linear B. There was a lot of um bureaucracy writings, a lot of like writings on shipments and stuff. So we had a very good idea of how of trade routes, and apparently we found reports indicating that the Greeks of Mycenaean Greece had gone as far as Spain for trade routes. If you look at a map of Europe and think about how hard it would have been for a ship to get from Greece to Europe at the time, that is a phenomenal feat. Honestly, it's insane. It's really, really rather spectacular, and yeah. Anyway, but oh yeah, and I was like, again, nice sign of just being a good leader here. Get them, before he can eat any food or anything. He tells Circe to give them their liberty and let me set my eyes on my loyal followers. And everything happens here. Though he's rather weirdly, he's showing an extremely bad temper here. Eurylochus is being, from what many people might consider as somewhat cowardly, but I think he's just being overly cautious, saying we need to go. And he says, why are you looking for trouble, going to Circe's palace, where she will turn you into pigs or wolves or lions, and force you to keep watch over the great house of hers? We've had all this before, with the Cyclops when our friends found their way into his fold, and this foolhardy Odysseus. If it is this man's reckless folly that cost them their lives. And for being called, and the thing is, he's right. It is Odysseus's reckless folly that has caused them this, right? His desire to just constantly explore and find things and check out things, essentially, when they didn't really need to. And obviously, it's his reason why Poseidon will not let them get home eventually, because they've been cursed. And that's why they'll all die as well. They will all die because Odysseus fucked up. Odysseus could not hold in his pride enough that he declared himself that I am the one who blinded you, Polyphemus, which led him to call on Poseidon and make it so that I'm going to curse you so that all your crew will die. But yeah, and it says here, when Eurylochus said that, I considered drawing the longsword from my sturdy side and lopping his head off to roll in the dust. He got called out once, and then he threatened to slice his cousin's head off, to just decapitate him, because he dared to call him out. Again, Odysseus is not a perfect man. He is an overly prideful man at most. He's very smart, but he's prideful to a point of complete arrogance. And he will not deal with any kind of this. It's a rather interesting thing where we see his loyalty to his men only to be instantly contrasted by this. So yeah. I think last point here. Yeah, last point here. So, Catabasis, I believe that's how you pronounce that. Journey to the underworld. We get informed that they will need to travel to the underworld to find a way back. And Catabasis, I'll spell that for you actually, just put it in the chat. Catabasis, like that. It just means journey to the underworld. It's a common trope used in many Greek stories. I'm sure many of you would have heard the story of Orpheus and Orpheus and oh my god, what was Orpheus's girlfriend called? Who he traveled down to see? Oh, what was her name? She was a nymph, I believe. Oh well. Was it Eurycleia? No. Eurydice. That's how I was thinking. It was Eurycleia. No, Eurycleia is the name of Odysseus' nursemaid. Eurydice. Thank you. Yeah, it's very common trope, classical trope. And it's no surprise that it's here. Lots of really wonderful descriptions here. Also, interesting that it mentions Persephone's Grove. I just can't help but think of, oh, wait, hang on. In Hades, the game Hades, they have this bit where Persephone has this little garden. Perhaps this is a reference to Persephone's Grove that they speak of here. But yeah, love the description here. Swirling stream and go on into Hades' kingdom of decay. Love that. What an awesome line that is. Kingdom of decay. And of course, Tiresias. Mentions him briefly. We'll see him more in the next book, the Book of the Dead. But Tiresias is an interesting fella. He appears in lots of stories, actually. There's lots of myths and stories about Tiresias. He's a kind of a weird fella. He's well known for being the wisest man on the planet, essentially. Also, really funny stories. Like, he gets turned into a woman for a while. I can't remember what caused this to happen. But he's like... this leads to a very funny story. I'm not sure what the source for this was from, but I've heard this story before. Where... as he was transformed into a woman because of a curse for some time. They got turned back eventually. But eventually... some of the gods got into debates. Is rather crude story, honestly, but it is rather humorous. The gods and goddesses got into debates that who feels the most pleasure during sexual activities, and they decided to settle this by going to the only person on the planet who's experienced being both a man and a woman at one point in their life, which is Tiresias. And Tiresias is like, okay, who has the best schmecks? And Tiresias is like, well, you are gods, so I cannot lie to you. Women have it better. And the goddesses don't like this because, like, dude, what the fuck? Why are you selling us out? What the fuck are you doing? You're selling us out on the river. And like, listen, I have to be honest. And I think they curse him again. I don't know what they do. I just remember that story because it's so ridiculous. It's just the pettiest thing in the world. But yeah, that was a weird little story I remembered. I got taught that in my classic civilization lessons I used to take back when I was a wee lad. And of course, I mentioned this in my little YouTube short I made. Poor Elpenor. Elpenor is brought up once here. This first time he's brought up. He's shown to be, as it says, the youngest of the party, not much of a fighting man, and not very clever. Very tragically, and in a way also a bit comical. Maybe it wouldn't have been at the time. I think nowadays it's almost comical in the way it happens because he's just this guy who's brought in. He's kind of not smart. He's not very strong. He's drunk. And then he falls off a house when he's like, "Oh shit, everyone's leaving," and we'll see him again in the Book of the Dead, and they'll just say, "Oh, please give me proper burial rites," and they're like, "Okay." Well, okay, maybe we can bring this on again later on, but actually, he doesn't say burial rites. He instead asks for his body to be burned. This is interesting because, oh, are we drinking? Unfortunately, Meister, no. We're just finishing up stream, actually, so no drinking. I need to make food. It's like almost 11 o'clock. I need to make food, actually. I was going to say, yeah, sorry about that, Meister. I was going to say, though, what was I going to say? Yes. So, we'll talk about this more in Book of the Dead, I guess, next week. But, he asked to be burnt for his body to be burnt. Burning would not have been common in Mycenaean Greece. Burial was much more common. Burying, being burned, having your body burned, cremation was more of a feature of Homer's time. So there's a bit of a mixture of history and modern elements there for him, which is rather interesting as a little anecdote. But anyway, that's going to be it for today. I probably would have gone on longer if I'd started earlier, but it's so hot here right now. I just wanted to do it in the evening. But yeah, we're going to leave it there for today, folks. Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier on, I may be having to change stream times. I am potentially joining a new play. I may be having to change stream times. If that is the case, Odyssey reading streams will likely be moved to the Saturdays going forward. I will post on Discord about it. Thank you for the stream. No worries, Lynette. No worries. Thank you for coming by. I appreciate it, my friend. Yeah, we'll be posting on Discord if things are changing regarding schedules, and I try my best to keep on top of schedules and forgetful of them. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Take good care at night, Grandpa. You're so foul for that one, Pickle. You were absolutely disgusting for that one. My back hurts. And it works out for me. I was sad I wouldn't be able to make it anymore with my new schedule. Yippee! I think it works out for a lot of people, apparently. But yeah. We'll see how it goes. I think I'll still be doing Wednesday and Monday streams in the afternoon my time. Though maybe I'll also be again, I'll try my best to keep posted on Discord if schedules change and such. And baby, seasons change, but people don't, and I'll always be waiting in the back room. That was a Fall Out Boy song. Anyway. Okay, I'll love you all, and I'll leave you all. I'm not gonna love you all, actually. That was a lie. I'm sorry. I'm a liar. I'm a thief and a liar. Yeah. No, thank you all for coming by, everyone. I really do appreciate it. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I do appreciate you coming by and listening to this old fool ramble about the work of dead poets from several thousand years ago. But yes, I hope you enjoyed today. I'm going to see if I can make some food. Is it too late? Probably. But am I going to do it anyway? Yes. Anyway, yeah, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, afternoon, everyone, wherever you are. I imagine it's night for most people, unless you're like in Japan, I guess, where it's probably morning-ish. Keep well. Stay safe, eat lots of good food, and I shall see you next time. Bye-bye. 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 It's like a Burn the Big Blue House song. Goodbye, goodbye, good friends, goodbye, goodbye. Remember that? Okay, yeah, anyway. Bye-bye. Bye.